everybody. Hope your morning is off to a good start. It is a first alert weather day, by the way. Just up until right around now, I think, is when we're expecting it. But check in with meteorologist Steve Balon on his social media pages and online at Wbay.com to check the fog. And it was really dense this morning as we were heading out the door. But as we move through the morning and afternoon, things are supposed to get better. But this is what we're planning on talking about here from the First Alert Digital News Desk. We want to talk about the top First Alert Safety Desk stories that we've covered this week. Some of the bigger ones were this scam victim survival kit by the BBB. Also a report about childcare costs in Wisconsin. More than rent or mortgage in certain states. There were 11 different ones, Wisconsin on that list. Also, cervical cancer self-tests are available. It's a game changer for women's health, and the FDA just approved those self-tests that you take to a doctor's office to get checked for cervical cancer. So really important stuff that we want to chat with you about this morning as we get this Friday started. We'll start probably with the scam survival story because that one was a very interesting one. There's so many people that get scammed, that deal with scams. So the scam survival kit by the BBB is very helpful, very user-friendly too. Here's some of the details for you, and in case you missed it, it is on our website, and we do have the link to it. But obviously, countless people fall victim to scams all of the time, and we know that. So to help them, the BBB started the Survival Toolkit. It's an online toolkit where you get a step-by-step guide of what to do next after you've been a victim to scam. So you see some of the details there. Basically, you answer some questions. You talk about what happened to you, how did you lose money, how much money did you lose, and then it'll take you through that step-by-step guide of what to do, basically. I'll actually pull up our website so you could take a look at it, and maybe we can even go through it ourselves. There's a story, as I always say, just go right to the Safety Desk tab, and there's the link to that Scam Survivor Toolkit. And you can see it asks you these questions right here. First and foremost, I'm seeking resources for, and you could say maybe an individual. You can click resident and then hit next. The next question, what happened? You could say, I lost money and hit next. You could say, I used a credit card, kind of making this up as we go, but just to show you how this works. You could say my credit was impacted. That's a big deal. Or, maybe say my financial stability was impacted. A lot of people are hit hard with these scams these days. And then it'll just reiterate what happened here. You could say my credit was impacted, here's what to do, and then what to do about the credit card debt or debit card that you might have used. So here's the full report. It talks through the scenarios and then the step-by-step of what to do to take immediate action to prevent anything else from going on, or important steps to recover that money that you lost. Really important. So again, that is on our website, wbay.com, with that safety desk story about scam victim survival kit. The other story I wanted to talk about is that child care report, and we'll pop that up for you right here. So Child Care Aware of America's, it's an annual report. It says if you think rent is high, wait until you need to pay for child care, and parents know this, it's so expensive. So in 11 states, in Washington, D.C., child care for 2 children costs at least twice as much as rent. So it's just kind of comparing that and showing the impact to certain families that are dealing with this right now. So some of the other states, we had some in the Midwest even, but we had Illinois, Minnesota involved in that, Indiana, other places like Iowa, Kansas. But in every other state in the U.S., placing 2 kids in childcare costs at least a quarter more than the average rent. So these 11 states that are included in this, including Wisconsin, really seeing the impact, but the families are seeing it the most, right? So the report also says it looked at care for an infant and a 4-year-old. Also talking about the nationwide average, the annual cost of care for a child rose to nearly $11,600 per child last year. That's the national average. So we're obviously seeing how it's impacting families financially, physically, emotionally, all of that. So you can see past reports on child care resources and legislation by searching wbay.com and just look for child care, and you'll see that we've done stories to see what families are doing to get through this tough time. Another story I want to talk about is those cervical tests, the FDA approving those. This is really interesting. So we know and have heard from doctors how cervical cancer, you don't really get a lot of those symptoms. It's more silent. It's like one of those silent killers. So the FDA approving the first self-test for cervical cancer, self-collected samples that can be screened at a doctor's office or an urgent care facility. But doctors do still want to remind you, regular screenings can help identify any of the risks that you might be susceptible to. And again, we do have a lot more with regards to the self-test for cervical cancer on our website, wbay.com. We have the link to the company and how that sort of works and how you can order it and get it in your area. But the new test approved by the FDA, definitely something you want to talk to your doctor about. We know that the majority of cervical cancers develop from HPV, so always have that conversation with your doctor before you do anything new or different, just to make sure it's something that is right for you. We want to go back to our website, actually, pull that up here, to show you some of the other stories that we've been working on, that I've been working on from the First Alert Safety Desk this week. There were some other ones, like today we talked about summer, of course, means sun, but it also is really important to stay safe, watching your skin, boating safety, all of that. So we touched on that this morning, and some of the other ones this week actually, Yogi Tea, recalling this tea right here, the immune support. If you want details on that, click in here in case it's something that you have in your cupboard. Really important. And then we covered a couple recalls, Honda with this lawnmower, and then Aldi Schreiber Foods recalling certain cream cheeses. We talked about the scam that texts you about unpaid tolls. We don't even have toll roads in this area, so that would be your first red flag. But take a look, there's lots of stories, and there's that toolkit, one that we just talked about at the beginning of this report. But yeah, the Safety Desk tab right there. Really easy to find, and again, we put all of the information that I mentioned on air right there online, including the links. We make sure that you know exactly what to find, so you don't have to go searching for it. It's right in the story itself. But that is it, other than the fact that there could still be some fog out there. I'm going to see if I have actually, this is our Green Bay Skycam. This was also, a safety concern this morning as people were headed out the door. That's Green Bay, but remember, up above, it could be a little bit more dense. It is improving in parts of Outagamie County. This is Appleton. I know Oshkosh looked like this the entire morning. It was clear, but even if you were to leave Oshkosh, you could still come across some of the fog. It's not as dense as it was early this morning, but every time you see that, make sure that, because it's bound to happen again, of course, so make sure you're driving slow and giving yourself extra time, the time that you need to get to wherever you need to get to safely. But just wanting to touch on some of those First Alert Safety Desk stories. Thank you for being here and saying good morning. Good morning to you, Jody. Good morning, Jolynn. Have a great weekend to you. Thank you very much for saying hi. Again, make sure you turn to wbay.com for those Safety Desk stories. I will be back on the air here for Action 2 News mid-morning at 9. Steve will give us an update on the fog and then the forecast, because it looks like it's going to be really, really nice starting today into the weekend. So hope you enjoy and stay safe.